You could go out and risk death and watch the tanks in the streets, or you could stay at home and learn to get this machine to count and play music and make games.
Tell me about your dad bringing home a Commodore 64 computer and what that meant to you.
So I don't know if I was 9 or 10, but I was roughly the age. And he had brought it from Italy. So first of all, it had like Italian manuals and stuff that I didn't know how to deal with. It didn't have the right plug to go into the preservar, like just getting it connected. And the computers at that time didn't have screens. So we needed to connect it to the home television and find the right wires for
Oh,
dealing with it. It was just it was like a big keyboard that you needed to connect to all the things that you wanted to do with it. Um, but what it represented was, first of all, the future, like, because he said this is the future, and I didn't even know what that meant. And he gave us a book on how to program it, because when you turned it on, it didn't do anything. It just had a little prompt and you could type in it. But he said, if you read this book, you can get it to do all sorts of things. It can count, it can play games, it can play music. And we're like, how do we get it to do that? He's like, read the book and learn to make it do that. And I think most kids, if you gave them that challenge today, they wouldn't do that because there'd be so many more fun things to do in their life. They could
right,
just go play a game or
right.
whatever. Whereas in our life, there was nothing else fun to do. You could go out and risk death and watch the tanks in the streets, or you could stay at home and learn to get this machine to count and play music and make games.
But it's still remarkable to me that you guys, as kids, I mean, as the story goes, it's almost mythical. You teach yourselves how to code. I mean, I can't. My sister and I are pretty smart. She ended up she's a chair of a department at the university as a professor. I can't imagine us teaching ourselves how to code on a computer as 8-year-olds or something. How did that happen?
Actually, you'd be surprised how many people have a similar story of teaching themselves to code at maybe 12 years old. And what the reality is, folks who have never learned computer programming imagine that it is much harder. They imagine that it is harder than calculus. And you may have taken calculus in high school or college. Learning basic coding is way easier than calculus. It's about as easy as like seventh grade math to get started, or
Hmm.
even fifth grade math. And when you went through seventh grade math, you didn't think, oh my God, I'm doing, you know, like simultaneous equations with X's and Y's. But
Right.
if you had never ever tried that, and at your age you learned about somebody who taught that to themselves when they were 10, it would blow your mind.
But this
It's
is the 80s. Wasn't it a lot harder? I mean, I figure it's probably a lot easier now, but back then,
definitely
I mean,
easier now. Um,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, I don't want to pretend that it was super easy, but it also wasn't like, rocket science.